Banks are preparing. The question is, are you preparing? The answer is most likely no, because 1% of the population owns 97% of the wealth, and it's by design. The everyday person, the middle class family, is spending so much time trading time for money, they have no time to pay attention. And our number one gap and our number one problem is financial education. Because all you hear on the news is parroted information, repeated information that comes from television programming that's designed to channel information into and tell you a vision. Programming, channel, and television. So in 1971, we detached from the gold standard, making our money fake. So now as we sit today in 2023, we have fake money, no money in the system, and every single dollar is someone else's debt. And in 2020, as you look this way, a whole nother narrative got switched this way, which was Basel III rules. I was in the banking system for 10 years, me and my CFO, 22 years combined. So I graduated from CBA Executive Banking School, so I understand how banks work. So there's different types of capital. One is Tier 1 capital, which is the most secure. That's why I use Index Universal Life or life insurance, specifically IUL, to secure my wealth, which is Tier 1 capital. And the Basel III rules transferred recently, or started to change in 2020. On October 1st, 2023, this week, all those rules kicked in. So in JP Morgan's press release, they talked about the stress test and how they're applying these Tier 1 capital requirements. Now, what does that mean? So banks now need to hold gold, physical gold on reserves, no more paper gold. And I showed a video on my YouTube today that Ray Dalio is talking about gold being one of the most secure assets because of its functionality, the way it operates. Just pay attention to what I'm about to say. It can move from place to place. You can transfer it from place to place. It's a store of value. I was going to say it can't be manipulated, but we know banks have already. But anyways, it holds its value somewhat. Store of value, form of currency, and can be moved from place to place. So what you're going to start to see is banks preparing now to be more asset-backed, in my opinion, because you're sitting in what's called fiat, fake money, and you're in a country that is 120% debt-to-income ratio, that your money has zero value, only your belief in it, and somewhat the petrodollar. So we're balancing on this teeter, government shutdown, little leeway for 45 days, they need to keep need to reason the debt ceiling. So you can see the banks are going into more risk-weighted assets or less risk-weighted assets. So Tier 1 capital, it's a risk pyramid. Pull up the risk pyramid. So they're looking for more secure assets so that will make sure that the bank is stable. So here's what I think is going to happen. As interest rates continue to rise and it makes it very expensive to borrow, it's going to destroy the middle class, because if you can't borrow, that's less income in the system. So every bit of person's debt is someone else's income in the system. So if you can't borrow anymore and companies can't borrow their way out of trouble, they're going to start laying you off. And so when money slows down in the system, it ruins the job markets, that cools inflation. And then if they start to bring interest rates back down, it's going to suck the liquidity back out of the banks, because the bond market is all messed up right now. And then people are going to start rushing back into assets. So on the back end of this year, I believe going into the front end of 2024, you're going to see an asset pullback, cryptocurrency, stock market, which creates a badass buying opportunity. You should do the opposite of the 99%. When they're panicking, you should be buying. And then when they're coming in, you should be selling. Because cryptocurrency and fiat, dollars, money, it's all funny money, it's fake. We're taking our fiat dollars, I'm taking my fiat dollars, and I'm buying fake crypto. It's not that crypto is fake. Some of them have intrinsic value like XRP, Ripple. It has a real world solve, but it's in a quantum computing system. So what I've been doing is I use crypto as a very speculative asset. I invest in cryptos that I feel are going to be here for the long term, but I also treat them as a very speculative asset. I've matured greatly over the past 4 years with my investment strategy. And then I do things like Tier 1 capital to secure myself. So here's what I do. I don't know if it'll work for you. So cryptocurrency is my very speculative asset that can make me a large amount of money in a short amount of time, 2024 to 2025. As you're coming in, I'm going to be exiting and selling you my profits, because I was buying when you got fudded out by your financial advisor, your tax accountant, and your drunk uncle at the barbecue and your parents. So as you're coming in, I'm selling you my crypto, and I'm securing in things like Index Universal Life, Infinity Banking Concept. Make sure the agent sets it up correctly and not maximize their commission, because it's very important how these things are structured, very important. Number 2 is I've been growing my business portfolio constantly and consistently. Information technology and attention. I'm invested in precious metals, which is silver. Now I'm transitioning to gold. I'm going to follow what the banks are doing. The banks are ramping up their gold. changing the gold rules for tier 1 capital, and they're ramping it up, so I'm going to do what they're doing. I just follow what the big money's doing. Oh yeah, and I started dollar cost averaging in Bitcoin because MicroStrategy increased their position in Bitcoin and BlackRock increased their position in MicroStrategies. So that tells me it's going to be here for the long term. So I started getting into Bitcoin about a year ago. And single family and real estate. And now I'm going to be expanding into multifamily. Now when I say single family, I own a single family home. I'm not a real estate expert. But because of my now tax liability, I need tax liabilities, I'm heading into real estate. I just don't have a passion for it. So it's been kind of a more of an uncomfortable suffering to get into it because I just don't have a passion for real estate. But now I have a need for it and we have experts around us. So we're going to head into multifamily and apartment complexes next year. We'll be creating 506Bs within our academy, just like we did with the pre-IPO. We'll be bringing pools of investors that we know, like, and trust into these 506Bs to go buy apartment complexes together. So I talked about crypto, my insurance strategy, which is tier 1 capital, my precious metal strategy. Did I talk about that? I have silver and I'm heading into gold, which is a tier 1 capital, what the banks are doing. Business, which is how I beat inflation and I increase my earned income every single quarter. And I'll be heading into real estate using experts because I'm clueless with that and I have experts around me. And the next phase for me, and then self-development. And I'll share with you on the back end of this what made me the richest man in the world. So self-development, we spent a lot of money on our self-development, So lastly, the thing that made me the richest man in the world is my relationship with God and following the life of Jesus. That truly made me the richest man in the world. And interesting enough, when I built a relationship with God, not religion, that means connection. When I built a relationship with God and I followed 3 of his big rules and I started modeling the life of Jesus, not aiming for perfection, aiming for perfection, knowing it's not possible. I understood in the beginning was the end, and the end I'll find out it's in the beginning. I control my thoughts, my actions, and my reactions. My life radically changed. I don't worry about the future anymore. I know that I win in the end, therefore I act as if I win in the end right here in the present moment, and therefore I become magnetism and money flows to me easily and frequently, and I have everything I need. And now that I have everything I need, I get everything I want. When I realized it already existed, I no longer had to seek. And when I realized I knew nothing, I became the smartest man in the world. And when I finally saw myself, everybody saw me. When I was trying to be seen, nobody could see me. When I realized that the world is inverted, I just inverted everything. I do the opposite of the 99%. I don't follow religion, I follow relationship. I don't trade time for money, I use time to free up, or use money to free up time. I don't tell my kids what to do. I become an example of what is possible. And I live every day on earth like it's my last day, and I fucking love it. So that's me in a nutshell. So if you want to become the richest man or woman on earth, that's a blueprint I followed. When I was chasing money and waiting for a savior or a president to come back, I was on the hamster wheel like everybody else. But once I realized I was saved and God loved me every single day, I became the richest man on earth. Warriors, rise, get your shit together. Love you guys. Remember, I will never proactively DM you. Those are all scammers. That is not me talking to you. I have 2 free resources for you. Number 1 is my free book I wrote, No Hoops to Jump Through. Put your email in, it'll be in your box in 15 minutes, my exact blueprint. And number 2, if you're worried about your retirement or you want to learn how I secure, compound, and grow my wealth with Index Universal Life Insurance, securing my wealth, tax-free retirement, I'm a licensed insurance agent. I have licensed insurance agents in all 50 states, and we're expanding to Canada in 60 days. It's a free consultation with my team to have a conversation. So if you're worried about your 401k or you're worried about the markets or you have old 401ks that you don't know what to do with, there's so many options besides Index Universal Life that could help you with a path to retirement and help you secure some of this wealth when things come collapsing down. Love you guys. Appreciate you. See you soon. All linked in my bio here on TikTok.